Yeah.
Becca, today's episode of Infodump Files made me think of Steve Martin
Oh, really?
for the movie Parenthood, because
Yeah.
our guest today is a father of three. I am nowhere close to fatherhood, probably never will be, but I am always amazed by parents. I guess the closest I get is I am an uncle of five, four nieces and a nephew, and they're all amazing, but all a giant pain in their own special way. So before we get to our amazing guest today, wanted to learn about your relationship with parenthood. I know you have like 700 pets at home, but
Yes. I am not a children person. So that is my truth. I have, since a very young age, only been interested in animals. I actually care very little about people as a whole. This liking people thing is very new to me. It came with my diagnosis. It's very new. Other than that, I was, really into animals, and I just dig animals, and I'm cool with that. And so I never wanted children, and I didn't understand, like, from 6 years old to like 16, 18, me saying I don't want to have kids was not a big deal, right? It was like, as a little girl, it was like, oh, how cute that you think about that stuff now, And like, the older I got, it was like, oh, well, I'm glad you're being safe right then, and all of that stuff. But in my 20s, when I got really serious about it, and I was like, no, I really don't want to have children, because the pressure starts to come on from society, right? Like, your uterus is getting old, lady, you better use it, and all that stuff starts to happen. But I didn't want kids ever. And so my most famous story in my family that they've all said, this is when we should have known you were autistic, right? So I was like in my mid-20s, and I was like, I've had it. I'm now in charge of my body. I don't have anybody's rules to follow, all of that. And I go and make my doctor's appointments alone. So I made a doctor's appointment, and I was like, I would like a hysterectomy. What paperwork do I have to sign? And they wouldn't do it for me. They really were like, no, you're going to change your mind. And like, no, we can't do this to your body. And it was really an awful feeling. And I remember I had like a whole meltdown in the office, because I was like, you can't tell me what to do with my body, and you have to help me in this whole thing, right? And so it was like a really meltdowny experience, but it was something that I knew so innately about myself, that I was like, why? Do you know how many thousands of dollars in tampons alone I'm going to have to spend because you're making me keep this thing I don't want, right? And it was like really a visceral thing for me. And so I've kind of always just known that. And I've always been invalidated about it, which is an odd thing. But I'm now living my best life, which honors my love of animals, and the fact that I don't want to have children. And I met another person who didn't want to have children, and we got married, and we have lots of animals now, right? And I still get judged somehow, but still, that's kind of my reality, and I think I struggle with it. But I wonder if you get that pressure too. Do you feel the same kind of pressure about having kids?
I would say so. My sixth anniversary is coming up next month, and in the first 2 years, like, I would hear, from family on both sides, oh, when's the first one on the way, and you just even get these little comments here and there, and it was just, I would just kind of ignore it at that point. Now, as time has went on, and I'm getting old,
Yeah.
and my wife is, about 40 right now, so we don't hear that as much anymore. And we keep giving a consistent message to everyone.
Right.
that is probably not happening.
I love this puppy so much. I love my puppy.
Yeah. So
Right.
we have a dog, so that's
Right.
probably, and we love our dog's name is Shadow. We call her Shadow Monster because she is such a monster. She loves to play. So, yeah, I used to get that a lot. Thankfully, those things have kind of come to an end, but I definitely appreciate all the parents out there.
Yes, way to go to populate our earth, parents.
Yes,
Thank
I don't
you.
know how my parents did it, how I became somewhat of a successful adult, I guess, if successful is the right word. But
Right. I didn't die before I was 18. I'm here.
I made it into my 40s, so good job,
Right.
Mom and Dad.
But that, I mean, I think that was probably part of my whole thing was I'm just petrified that I would be like, I don't have patience. I have no, I don't know. Well, we'll ask Hunter. I'm going to ask all these questions and more when we get to Hunter right now. So Hunter, welcome. Thank you for joining us here on Info Dump and tolerating our non-child conversation. Hunter is joining us here. He kind of is attached to Doug and I on LinkedIn, and we follow his work. He does some really amazing, fun videos on YouTube. His channel and his website are called The Life Autistic. So please welcome Hunter Hansen.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hello, welcome.
Yeah, the parenting bit. Oh gosh, you guys have, I will tell you that just in that pre-warm-up, I was just thinking of like, for the longest time, my wife and I, we didn't have kids for the first half of our marriage. And it was a steady drumbeat of just, hey, when's it going to happen? I'm the oldest of 5 siblings. So you can imagine my parents had a very different view on it. And while I love having siblings, I didn't think it was on the cards for many reasons. I won't share, some other stuff, but I knew like there's some components to autism that I didn't think I'd be a good parent. I wasn't patient then. I'm not now. I fake it very well, so a lot of things, but then, sometimes like life's just weird and it flips. And then the latter half, we went from 0 to 3, lovely, adorable children. But I realized I think it's good to just kind of know where you're at, and I mean, that's the best thing. Like we also have dogs too. So I have canine children, and then, we just have a wild, chaotic house. But I think that's one thing where I try to be very like sympathetic toward that. I know people to where they've lived really full, rich lives. They're very giving. They do what they are. And, like, hey, children are a component of some lives and not others. And that's fine. That's cool. Like we've all had experience as children. Sometimes that's
Right.
enough, and then with us, it's like, what have I done? What have I done? This is
I
cute.
want to ask you about all of that stuff. I want to ask you about all of the things I was afraid of. So how do you deal with the noise? That would be my number one button pusher.
Yeah.
For me, that was probably it.
So for the listeners, I'm holding up a case of AirPods. I have been told that I can blast my music so loud, like they hear my music in my AirPods. I refer to it as sonic trauma. It just is sonic trauma. I did mention I'm the oldest of 5 siblings. The noise was a constant, and it was just distressing. And we had television back then, which was always on. And so you add loud younger brothers, loud younger sisters. In a weird way, the din became routine to where I knew I was at least at my house because I could parse out the chaos, and it was strange. These days, I have told people I am a ninja captain of a pirate ship, and my women are bellicose, wonderful pirates, loud and boisterous and emotional and noisy, high emotional registers. But I do have a video that is going to cover some parts of autistic parenting, oddly enough, coming not this week, but next week, whenever this airs, it'll be out. And I just realized, I recuperate in silence now, and that's okay. Kids leave for school, and it's just like I feel the literal weight lifted. Like I just have to endure it for a set amount of time, no matter the intensity, put on my mental AirPods in, and just think of like, my IDM or ambient tracks, because I have very good audio projection that can almost overcome it. And at the worst, it's like, what, I'll just sneak out the garage, pretend to do something. I'll haul the baby to a quiet place. It's not that I'm adept in dealing with it. It's just I've built a lot of tolerance, and it's nice when it's gone. And it is nice to work in a job to where, like right now, it's not so much meeting heavy some days, but I can just focus, and there is a lot of music that just undoes the sonic trauma, as I call it.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's part acclimation, part finding your spots to get in the quiet corner, decompress, take a deep breath, and then but yeah, I've also trained my children to nap at the same time each day for a very long block. So that was an early prerogative. So from 1 to 3:45, 4, they're out, and that's good. And I love having that quiet time. And I think I've actually at home by myself with one of my daughters who is napping, and it's still quiet. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. This podcast could get very interesting very quickly.
Awesome.
So
We love
roll the
that. We'll
dice.
take that.
Yeah, so that's just the noise. That's just the noise. Everything else that comes with it, I don't. You just.
Is there anything that happened with parenthood that you weren't anticipating being a struggle that is, and vice versa?
I did not know how much it would affect me emotionally. I think, and this is, I'll be very specific. I'm a dad of daughters. Let's just say I was once wrongly of the opinion that my legacy can only carry on through sons who would carry my name. Never have I been so wrong, and never have I been more proud of the fact that my daughters are an incredible testament to, their weird dad and their great mom. It's been a gift. That was good. I was surprised that just turned on a dime, but man, I just get like stupid emotional now. Like, I used to only cry at the end of Toy Story 3. Now I cry during all the Toy Stories, at the beginning of Toy Story 1, 2, 3, at various points. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? So there's some stuff, but things that I didn't think would be as much of a challenge or like greater struggle than anticipated was just trying to reason. And this sounds dumb. Like, Hunter, you can't reason with children. Oh, but you can. I learned this the hard way with my firstborn, Mo. She's very like me, redheaded, super intelligent, like has all of like a lot of the good attributes of us. She is a little weepy sometimes, but it's very easy to break things down with her. And she was a very mellow kid. Enter my second, Zoe, not so much. And it's just like, it's literally like diffusing a bomb at breakfast. And it's like, even though I pretend I'm the bomb diffusing coordinator, hey, what would you like for breakfast? You tell me. Here are the options. Let me make sure I have a blue bowl with a blue spoon and that Mo hasn't eaten something before you do. And let me make sure you have your otter. And I realized like those are different decision points where it should just be a monolith of breakfast for me. But instead, breakfast is particulated into a decision tree of 16 different things and ordinances and literal ordinance that can explode at any moment, at any degree of intensity. And then there's my baby. And it's like, well, I got to do this while holding a baby. So yeah, I think it's just the compound nature of all these subroutines that are not my routines that I have to maintain for my sanity or what's left of it. Yeah, that's challenging. I think it's challenging for any parent, but for me, it's just like, I have an order and you are disrupting your own order. And this logical inconsistency I can right away as you're 2 years old. Right. But sometimes it's hard when it's just you're yelling and it's really loud. And I did everything you asked for. And it was this. So yeah, in my mind, like your routine should be fixed with very little variance, but sometimes the variance is too great, even morning to morning. She's a sweet kid. She's a charmer and she's bizarrely empathetic, except for breakfast time when she's a little explosive. So yeah. I don't know how my third one's going to take. She's still got growing up to do, but yeah, you translate that across like child to multiples and it's just juggling is a different discipline. When it's one, when it's two, when it's three, it's a completely different act. Like it just is like in literal juggling, which I've done. And then like with children, it's like, wow, okay, I don't always do this. And sometimes something gets dropped, not literally, but figuratively. It's like, sorry, you fell down the stairs. Well, it's okay. They're carpeted. You'll be fine. But yeah, it's something.
I bet.
Hunter, I learned about you on social media and all your different platforms, and I think through Instagram initially. And on your Instagram profile, you talk about videoing, writing, and helping. Are those the things you're passionate about, your special interests?
I would say they're the things I primarily do. I once had it as ranting, and I realized, like, you know what? That's not Hunter anymore. As much as I want it to be, it just doesn't feel true. But it is interesting that you bring it up, because there's your special functional interests, and then there's your interests that are like passive. So I'll segue this one for you. The things I like doing are not always the things I like consuming, which is interesting. So you would say that my special interest now is like obviously doing YouTube videos. Like as much as I want to quit at my worst, I can't. I'm very neurodivergent and obsessed and fixed to where it's like, I can't quit this. Like, that's my goal. Don't quit. And that's easy because it's like I can just do this as a default routine and make it happen. You know, if you follow my Instagram, you know there's a cadence to all my posts. I don't tell you what it is, but the reels come on Tuesday, the YouTube comes on Wednesday, and then a random blog post on Monday, and then maybe a kid kick on the weekend. Like, it has a lot of structure, and I enjoy that as part of my subroutine. However, if you were to look at what does Hunter like on Instagram, it's all watches. It's all like luxury glam watches that I'm likely not going to afford, but that's okay. Most watch collectors don't amass a great collection. You check my liked videos on YouTube. What is it? Strongman competitions. Why do you watch so much about strongman, Hunter? You don't even watch the competitions. You just watch people talking about strongman. Yes, because I love the commentary. I like the history of all the people who won World's Strongest Man. I like watching, in between that and lockpicking lawyer and old Nicktoons and, more strongman and occasionally some, white dudes speaking Chinese in China. Like, it's just a very interesting dichotomy of like, this is what I like to do, but yeah, sometimes I'll consume autism content, like I like to lean in and get ideas and see how other people do it. I'm like involved in this right now, but yeah, like what you produce and what you consume, for me, they're almost in two different buckets of the special doing interest versus the special consuming interest, if that makes sense.
I could not agree with you more.
Yay,
right?
one of us.
Because I consume like most of my content that I put out, right? It's usually pretty positive, right? I'm honest and vulnerable. I'm always talking about autism in one way or another, but I'm usually talking about mindfulness and a whole bunch of other really woo-woo stuff. However, I am a person who on my YouTube channel will only watch two things. I will only watch true crime stuff and stuff about serial killers, or I will watch stuff about miniatures, like people making miniature stuff, miniature food, those are the
I was gonna say, like, you've probably
consume.
seen the pancakes thing. I saw something on like Reddit or whatever, and I'm like, how do you even, like, there's a soothing aspect to this. Like, I would never do it. Like my doing is very special interest based, but like watching somebody make a small pancake, I don't want to try that. I just want to see someone else do it.
Fascinating. I'll watch it all day, right? It's crazy. But it is true. It is really definitely not a doer of serial killer things. I promise.
That's a good distinction. Not only do I like watching true crime, I like committing true crimes. That's like, it's really great that my passive passions are also my active passions. At that point, I may be a little worried, but that's reassuring that you're not into, doing crimes and all that.
Right. I just like to watch it happen, or have happened, I guess, or know historically.
Now this
really odd thing, huh?
This might be controversial, Hunter, but do we need watches anymore? We have our phone; it just tells us the time on there.
So let me. I'm gonna rub my hands audibly here. Okay, so let me tell you, I do not wear a watch to check the time. I somehow have gotten in the habit of wearing my watch to check the date. Weirdly enough, so my first like actual nice timepiece, which I still have, is a JS watch Frisland, 42 millimeter thing. It was my dad surveyed the landscape, realized he couldn't accommodate all of his nice watches, which this is another segue coming up. But he's like, all right, Hunter, you're my only worthy son who will not like leave this in a dustbin. So I received it. I've since gotten a new strap on it. But yeah, I just developed a habit because it was an oddity. And it has a date window in Icelandic. So when I love Saturday, because Saturday is Laugadagar, and it's LA, not SA, or Þriðjudagar, which I believe is Tuesday. And it has the thorn character. So I can look, I'm not wearing it right now, but like, that's what I love about it. Like these certain characteristics, the way it ties into a narrative. So to that end, the thing that got me into, or like really dipped into horology, was the Apple Watch. I think it's an open secret that I do work for an unnamed $2 trillion fruit company. But when the Apple Watch was released, they brought in a group, like basically a magazine blog called Hodinki, which is based off the Czech name for watch. And it was like appealing to them from like a luxury timepiece thing. And since then, they've actually had like a good connection, like, the Apple Watch and this, watch blog, Hodinkee, because they bring in like elements of complications and ways to make it more watch-like. So, boy, this is going to be a topic. So I realized like everybody, my workplace, very much early adopters. And I just kind of got steeped into the nice watches thing again. I was like, you know what? Like, I mean, I need to look into like the beyond Rolexes, these other influences, the Piagets, IWCs, the Vacherons, the Patek Philippe, AP, like all this other stuff. I mean, I got crazy. It just had my first daughter. I had some generous time off of work. What better way to spend it than literally just scrolling through endless watches and reading all about stuff and just soaking it in. So in a weird way, I still don't own an Apple Watch, and that is a rarity in our company, and enough to where, me being autistic, I enjoy being different. So when I do visit, a corporate office, I'm one of the few who is not wearing an Apple Watch, and that gets noticed. Hey, I noticed that X piece there. And it's like, oh, I found other tribesmen here. Aha. Like you are also, one of the enlightened few. And I like finding, I guess autistic people do, smaller tribes with deep interests. And that was one way to, bring people in. So, like, this is where I do, like, that's the long answer. The short answer is, yeah, I don't check the time either, but I like them for the history, the provenance. In this case, I like the color. It was a gift for my 30th birthday because I was a worthy son, and they knew I was scoping this out. So my parents are like, oh, Hunter, you know what? We failed you in life, so we want to do something. They didn't fail, but they wanted to do something nice. And they got me the wrong color, which was the right color, because now it's like, it looks so much better. And then I can just use it as a gate of entry to talk with people, which is unlock doors to other communities of enthusiasts within my own company, beyond the company. It gets nods from people who know what it is. And then it's a good topic of conversation where, as an autistic adult, I don't always know what to say. But if someone says, hey, I noticed that, Tudor Black Bay, it's like, good, I can talk watches with you. Yes, this is great. Or like, oh man, you got a Nomos? Like, aha, the fact that you know what this is scares me. But hey, we can talk and I can tell you why I like it. And then it just engages that whole bit versus, oh, hey, let me check the time on my iPhone like everybody. Like everybody does that. And I have bristled against the overwhelming norm of what normal, regular people do. And in this day and age, wearing a wristwatch is highly irregular, and I can be irregular.
Something you do is make, like Becca was saying earlier, you make some fun, really cool videos. And I am terrified of videos. I don't know how Becca convinced me to to do the video portion of this.
Yeah.
I think it shows how much I wanted to work with her. So, did you ever have that, like that fear of videos, and kind of what's that process look like for you?
You're assuming this is a past tense thing, like I'm somehow not afraid of it. I mean, I'm flattered. I have a multi-part answer for this. My apologies. It will scaffold. What does make it easier is a plenitude of practice, which is intentional. I do work remote, and I can choose not to do video, but I found that professionally, when I emote visibly on video, it gets better results. When I tell somebody, listen, I really care about this initiative, because I know it's not just the numbers, it's the impact, it's these, and then I start getting into a little bit of preaching and storytelling, and they're just nodding, and it's like, perfect. Glad I came on camera, because I can like really radiate a lot of professional emotion into it, and it's good. And so that was like a good feedback loop to where I had, oh, I don't know, 8 years of practice doing it, to where it just becomes comfortable to like see the little green dot on my computer, move my camera in a certain way and make it natural. That was great. And then I started my first YouTube video and just got so scared. And it's still awkward. The specter of hooking up my phone and getting ready to record and say something without an audience is still awkward. It just is. Like the thought of it is enough to keep me from doing it most days. So I just compress it to where, like, if I don't hit record now, it's not going to get done. And if it doesn't get done, my life will fail. I do not accept failure. Record, take a deep breath, Hey, welcome back to the Life Autistic. On today's episode, and you just kind of fall into it. Like, the muscle memory's there, but it's like a daunting task. Like, I know this pool's cold, but it's going to be warm when I jump in, and it just is. But it doesn't stop that initial hesitation. So yeah, I'm with you. I was scared. I still am, but I was too. It's just like I mean that has not stopped, and I don't think I'm ever going to get to a point to where it is the thought of it is as comfortable as the feeling is in the moment. After a while, it's creative flow. You just get into it. You're mindful of your takes. You hear the interruptions, and you just go. But it's a powerful medium, and what's been really reassuring is just the response. My mentor is like, Hunter, your writing's great, but man, you could really connect with people. Just like the way, like I had an executive coach tell me the way my forehead talks, it's very expressive. She's like, you have like an expressive forehead, Hunter. And I'm like, sorry, like I didn't mean to say that, but I've gotten feedback that's helped reinforce like, hey, you land points better doing this. I'm like, yeah, but my hair is goofy and I got like zits and all that. And they didn't care. They were just kind of along for the ride. And I realized like, wow, if I can actually communicate with people and feel less awkward and just be a little more animated and people respond well to it, why not at least try? Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but nobody's seemed to notice that. And if you have, well, I want to know like the timestamp, because then I can say, oh yeah, that's because I had to edit a scene where somebody knocked on the door. I was just done yelling at the dogs, and that's when I was uncomfortable. But yeah, I'm glad you're doing video. It's a good way to land points, connect, and it's good practice. So yeah.
All right.
And also on your profile, you talk about how you're interested in helping. Is
Yeah.
that kind of where the videos came from initially, or?
It was, these are good points to come off. Like I do still have like the least interesting man in the world on my Instagram. And while I would hope to talk about like the snarkly comic aspect of it, I don't want to say I backed into it, but I remember just looking into so many touch points to where I didn't realize there's a lot of joy for just kind of like being you and people finding it helpful, which is weird. Professionally, I started as a technical support agent. So it was nice to literally help people using skills. And then, I've shared kind of how my blog's genesis came about, and it was the absolute nadir of, depression, suicidal thoughts, even with, 2 kids at the time. I was like, you know what? Nothing else is working. Why don't I just talk about who I am and just kind of go through my life, like who I really am, the secret I've been trying to keep from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. And like, I think even recently on Twitter, I've had an epiphany to where I'm trying to do too much on Twitter by dint of the fact that I'm a skilled writer. And it's like, I need to just stop. I need to just be. I need to find places where I just be.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just kept going at it, kept writing, kept doing stuff, and just being like, hey, let me talk about my experience. Hey, let me talk about why this gripes autistic people. And then like, I'll share this one thing just because it intersects with another, part of my life. But someone like sent me a message, a novel basically, and mentioned like, Hunter, like you were like a literal answer to prayer for me to help understand and love my son, whom I had been so frustrated. And I was just like, I was shocked. I had to stand up and like walk away. I still have goose pimples thinking about it. I'm like, bro, I'm just talking about why I don't like birthday parties, why I was heart wrenched about selling my Sega, why I like, and my goal was not, let me go find all these people in need, but just to share stories. And then people say, hey, my son was just diagnosed. My daughter does all this stuff. This makes total sense. And it's like, sometimes I ask like, why do you feel like this? And then I realize, oh, I'm just articulating the experience, and it's helpful. My resolution this year, I don't normally do it, but it's like, I want to divorce myself from the numbers. And I've been doing a great job. I'm so happy with this. Not just don't look at them, but don't celebrate them. Because the things that really do give me joy are when it's like, hey, not just, hey, it's not a slickly edited video, but hey, I have been treating my coworkers poorly, not realizing they could be autistic. Your blog helped me understand them better. and I want to fight for change. This gal tagged like the CEO and like the product owner of her entire company. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. Like, no, like that wasn't my goal, but my goal was to just be, and I'm glad people have found it helpful. And like, that's what I think about. I think of people who do, you know, come in and find it like, not just, hey, this joke was really great or this was well shot, but I agree with this so much and it feels good that somebody else is validating my experience.
Mhm.
I mean, that's just powerful. And that's like, and I know I mentioned like, you know, getting emotional and whatnot. That's a new dimension I just would not have seen 5 years ago. I thought, hey, I'll help you be a better writer. I'll help you do something and fix this.
Mhm.
I didn't realize just me being autistic, me and sharing that could be of any help. But I found that for some, it's a profound help. So yeah, it's a good alignment on purpose too. Like I don't always do this and I fail more than I should, but I want to stand more for the things that I'm passionate for rather than what I'm passionate against. You'll notice that I'm not militantly opposed to the things that a lot of autistic people may be. Like I can hold that personally, but there's enough drum beats about Saya and about William Shatner and about Autism Speaks. And I can join that too, but it's like, when you think of autism, what do we love? What do we want to support? What do we want to do that builds up the things that make us awesome people? And I just find my heart and my soul are better there. And when they're not there and misaligned, those are mistakes on my part. So yeah. So it's almost there, Doug, is like a reminder to where like, I need to be helpful. I was put on this earth not to destroy, but you know, help build. And I didn't know I could do that. So I'm trying to do it brick at a time.
Yeah.
And how can people find you on the World Wide Web?
Oh yeah.
As I
Did we?
Did we lose?
to be on my blog at thelifeautistic.com. So I do have posts every Monday because I like to write and some people like to read. What I'm really excited about is my YouTube channel. So if you look up Hunter Hansen, The Life Autistic, or follow whatever link, as I say, it's on Wednesdays, even if not every Wednesday, but it's basically every Wednesday at this point because I am maniacal about stuff. And it's been fun, a good new angle. And then oddly, I've had a kick doing Instagram. I love doing like a funny, silly reel. And I had one that like, you know, did the quote proverbial numbers. And it was kind of like an interesting way to see like, wow, a lot of people relate to just the goofy aspects of autism. And so if you want a 30-second video instead of watching 10 minutes of Hunter content, I try to keep it light there and encouraging. And, you know, it's I don't know, I found that to be kind of a fun medium too, because I can't hide behind finesse and writing skill. I just kind of have to be more me, and people seem to appreciate that. So yeah, if you do Hunter Hansen Autistic, you'll probably find, you know, that in my other venues as well.
All right.
Are we already ready for our 11 questions?
I think so.
I am. This is the part.
Oh my gosh, I might be.
I look forward to. This is really it. This is. I like think that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see how this person answers the 11 questions.
We get through like the long protracted intro of the content and like letting Hunter hold forth, and then no, I will. If you're excited, I can be excited.
Yes.
So yeah, 11 questions for something we call Inside the Autistic Studio. Beck and I are a big fan of Inside the Actors Studio, so this is kind of our tribute to that. The first question is, what are your pronouns?
Oh, let's go with he, him, and his.
And what is your preferred STEM?
Oh, it's a two-parter, but I do an amazingly complex one that my family affectionately calls freak walking. And I don't know how to describe it, but it's when I'm on Planet Hunter or Hunterland. Barring that, I do like, you know, things with my hands. So like running the grooves of my fingers through my AirPod cases, smoking a pen, itching my hair for the smell, which is weird. It's not the sensation. It's just like, it creates this latent smell that smells like Korean ramen that I would use to make it at, you know, the midnight hours growing up. Strange, but since you asked, that's the combo.
What is your favorite curse word?
You know, I may have to I may have to punt just because I've got children now. I'm gonna pass on that one. I think it depends on the situation. It really doesn't. But all right, I'll do this. The one that probably makes me laugh is a good old Clay Davis. She just drawn it all out, and the more syllables, the better.
Oh, I like it. That's a good one. No one's picked that yet, so good.
Oh, good. Thank you. All right, I'm glad I can be unique here.
Who do you love, and what are you doing about it?
Who do I love, and what am I doing about it? Oh, I'll give you kind of the cute answer. I love my wife, and I'm trying to be kind and more giving of my time to her. She has shouldered a lot of the load, putting her teaching career on pause, handling all the kids, doing a lot of the everything. And like I call, when you have four hands, it makes it really easy. It is hard for me to gash time out of my day. And I realize, like, you know what, that's her love language. I need to be more gracious of my scarcest resource and give her more time in my day, because it helps, even if it's just holding two babies at once, changing a poopy diaper. It goes a long way. And yeah.
You may be neurotypical
if surprises don't completely bother you, like if you like a surprise party or you like spontaneity and you embrace that, like, oh, this is so fun, we're doing something completely unexpected, and you say that unironically, you may be a neurotypical.
You may be autistic
you may be autistic if you get in trouble for using a polysyllabic word.
Does happen.
What's something you want to learn to do or be better at?
I don't want to learn to do it because I'm lazy, but I would love to be better at small DIY projects. And I would just, I'd rather things, and mainly because I just don't want it to take so much time. I'd like to think I can do this in the first 2 hours of my day rather than 3 weekends. It'd be nice. And it's just a trial and error thing. I'm good at some things now, but others it's just like, no. But I've learned a lot about plumbing. I've learned a lot about leaks. I've learned a lot about pipes. And it's led to a lot of adventures. I wish I could just learn all that and have learned it in many years and then pass it back down to my past self. But no, I just usually wait for calamities to happen and then figure out what I can and can't do. And I luck out 10% of the time. The rest, nope, it's shop around and call.
Next time I have a plumbing issue, I know who to call.
No, I can give you a referral. So you can call my plumber, man. So his number. But yeah, so he's happy to have me as a constant revenue stream, just because something's always going on. It's like, bro, it's an old house, man. What do you expect?
What autistic social media account should people be paying attention to?
Oh, like somebody else's?
Yes.
You know what? He's got a lot of followers, but he's one guy whose opinion I don't always agree with, but I respect. And that's Magnus Hedemark. I'll just name drop him, and I'm getting 2 nods on him. He holds an extremely high level position, pursues creative passions, and he is like an unabashed character, but he's successfully bridged like professional success that I could never, I'm just going to say, I will never get to that point. And the fact that he is like advocating at a very high level, for who he is, what he does with a lot of different interests. I almost look at it as like a godfather of autism stuff. Like if Magnus says this thing is cool, I feel like it's kind of cool. And it's very validating, weirdly enough, but I think, on LinkedIn, he's got some good stuff, always presents just the kind of interesting take that it's like, dang, this all sounded good. And then you mentioned this was creepy and ableist, or even like one of my favorite blog posts, he's like, Hunter, this is cool. Or he didn't even say this is cool. He's like, I could do less without being compared to robots. And I'm like, dude's right. Dude's right. I'm like, I love this. I mean, it's still one of my greatest hits about, IG-11 and The Mandalorian, but he made a really great point. I'm like, damn, dude. Damn. She so yeah. Fine. Yeah, I know you got one out of me. My kids are gone.
Yes.
They're out of the house. Yeah. So find him. I mean, there's a lot of others, and but I'm gonna stick with him just because he aligns very closely with like a grown-up professional, like super professional, but also definitely autistic and articulates it all super well.
What's the one thing in your routine you couldn't possibly live without?
Oh my God. If my bed is unmade, I am unmade. Like, it's just the one blocker to my day. I mean, I have many routines, but I just think if I do not make my bed at some point through the day, granted, I don't need to make it. I just need it made, but I'm the one making it. That's just it. There are many things like I can go without lifting for a day. Like all else fails, all right. A shower, I've done it before, but if the bed's unmade, I well and truly have failed myself.
Dog, cat, or must I choose?
Okay, I'm a cat person, but a dog owner.
Can we just, one day we're going to make a clip show of every person answering this question. I swear, autistic people are inclined to be cat lovers.
Oh, I know.
But then some dog lover comes around.
Sorry.
And we can't help but be empathetic and loving. We can't help but fall in love with these dogs. What are we supposed to do?
Dogs are practical. I'm very cat-like. However, dogs do serve like an alarm purpose. They are,
they're needy. They wake you up all the time.
It's weird though, because it's almost like we could tangent on this one, but having owned dogs throughout my life, the fact that I can really lean into, if I want to have a fun dog experience, I can do that. If I really want to be loved, my dogs will always love me. They do have their routines. But when I want them to just be, they're usually good at that. For me, I'm the alpha, the ninja, the dojo. So they just sit in the same place, idly by. And then, someone knocks on the door, I just let the dogs bark. And it's like, this should be your sign not to come by ever again. I don't know if cats who bark it.
Right. See, when you come unexpectedly, the dogs do their thing.
Exactly. And that is actually, I have done that. Like if you're an unexpected guest, I'm just like, I don't apologize for the dogs. It's like,
I just let them jump on you. Maybe you won't come back.
Oh, I just jacked. Stop jumping. Don't do that. Pixie, stop.
See? Oh, sorry, he jumps. It works in me. I have a Great Dane, and that's the win.
Ooh, wow.
Great Dane for the win.
There you go. And I think the other bit, I talk about his dad, right? My kids have, like, if you grow up with dogs as a kid, you're a little more like allergically defended. And what's nice is that my kids don't freak out at dogs. Other children do. And they're just like crying and screaming. My 7-month-old, she will grab my Papillon's fur and yank it. Like she don't care. They've all been bit and they get over it and they meet other dogs and it's an okay experience. So I'm glad that, then I have a talking point. Oh, your kids are so good with dogs. Yeah, I know. Can I talk about dogs for a second? Because I don't know what else to say. That's another good one too. So, all right.
And our last question,
okay.
What does autistic joy mean to you?
Oh man, it's like, I have a story. So it's when all of like your unique special interests and experiences can converge all at once in the same event at the same time. I'm going to try to do this in 2 minutes. I love going out and eating at expensive restaurants. I got to do that for my birthday. They had an Icelandic guest chef, which means a lot because I grew up in Iceland, with whom like he's mingling at the other tables. And then I ask him at the end, er þetta skýr ís? He's like, yeah, þetta skýr ís, talar íslensku. I'm like, yeah, Icelandic. And the fact that I looked like the coolest guy in the room, not just eating fine dining, fitting in, hobnobbing with the guest chef who invited me to his restaurant in the Blue Lagoon, which like harked back to like, something super specific that only an autistic, person would have even tried. Like it just pushed all the buttons. And then at the end, I made a joke. I said, I was wondering if like, I thought like this would be like a traditional Icelandic thorrablad with like harðfisk or something. He's like, I actually have some of that. I brought some with me. You want some of my secret stash? It's dried fish jerky. So I'm like already at like 200%. This put me at 300. I was just like, oh my gosh, I have a plate of harðfisk. Like all these like emotional, super focused interest converging into like me looking like socially cool. Like who's that loser getting a special plate from the chef? Like, you know, he's a weirdo. Yeah, but jag tar isländsku and thu geratha eki. I was flying. And then at the end, I spot this dude walking out. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, you're Steven Sand. You run an Apple blog, don't you? He's like, yeah, man. And we got to talking about Apple stuff. And it was like, I was like a 500% day for me.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So if you want to know what autistic joy is like, I blogged about it once. I think it was like the favorite day in the Life Autistic. And I mean, I've been married, I've had children born, but that's a pretty good day just to converge and, you know, have like, you know, langoustine and like Icelandic rye bread and Jerusalem artichokes and then hotfish to top it off. I don't know if that answers your question, but that experience, man, that checked all the boxes. And sometimes those boxes are hard to check all at once, but when they do, oh man, it's quite joyous. So yeah, that's probably it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Hunter. I really appreciate it. We had a really fun episode. Thank you for breaking your own rules and cursing with us here on InfoDump.
Twice if you count the 2 dams. But yeah, I'm like looking out my window and my daughter's still asleep. And you know what? She's a good kid. So
I say everybody go check out Hunter's stuff. He does some really fun videos on YouTube. YouTube channel is the Life Autistic. That is his website as well. So you can check out his writing. Go seek him out, man. It's some fun videos that he's doing, and a lot of them can be used to help you to really communicate with other people about autism in a light way, which is nice for a change. So have a great, have a great month, the rest of January, and we will be back in February with more people sharing more special interests and having more joy for us to enjoy together. So thank you so much. I'll see you soon, Doug.
Bye.
Cheers all. Thanks for having me.